So success, it looks good on the outside, but no one wants to talk about those feelings where you don't feel successful, but you
Mhm.
have to be real with those feelings. And I want to talk to regular people who make it, who are making an impact in their personal life, in their professional life. And those stories, as we highlight those stories, will motivate so many people. Hello, welcome to the World Class Leadership Podcast. I'm Pierre Monice, and I'm excited not only because this is my the inaugural episode for what I believe is going to be an exciting new venture with this podcast, but I get to start this journey off with a good friend of mine to help introduce me, to help my audience get to know me a lot better. Omar Bourne, introduce yourself. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Pierre. It's great to be here. Omar Bourne. I've been in the communications field here in New York City now for over 12 years, whether that's working in TV for a local network channel here or working in public information as a press secretary for government officials in emergency management. And now I'm an associate VP at a PR firm here in the city. So I'm happy to be here with you to help you share your journey and to interview you. I'm used to interviewing people and helping them prepare for interviews. So I think this is gonna be fun. It's gonna go seamless, but I'm happy to be here with you. And we've been friends for over 15 years. So we're gonna have a conversation, and people are gonna get to hear about Pierre Monice and to walk with you along this journey and share your passion in leadership. So I'm ecstatic to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, no. Well, just take it easy on me. I know you're used to interviewing experts and professionals, but I'm a rookie, so please have some grace. So excited to have you with me, and yeah. So let's just get right into it.
So we want to dive into who you are as a professional and as a person. So right off the bat, Pierre Monice, tell our listeners and our viewers about you. Who are you? Your story is very interesting. You've been a pastor, and you're now a senior vice president at a hospital system. From a pastor to a senior vice president, we got to talk about that journey. So share with us who you are, Pierre Monice.
Well, at the core, Pierre, I'm a Christian, I'm a son, I'm a big brother, born and raised in New Jersey, but, spent a good part of my time in South Florida. And I just love life. I really believe my calling is to add value and inspire people. Hence, being called to ministry early on, kind of working in a church setting. But as I transition out of that, my calling hasn't stopped. It's
Mhm.
always inspiring, uplifting people. And I tell people all the time, I never left ministry, just my field house has changed. And
Mhm.
everywhere I go, I try to just continue being a positive influence. I love sports. I love coaching, helping just people excel and do their best. And as a result, it's really rewarding because I want to be a blessing to all those I come in contact with.
And I'm glad that you said that, even though you transitioned out of ministry, your ministry didn't change because, I'm a Christian as well. We're both Seventh-day Adventist Christians. We're both Christians. I'm in communications, but I still like to apply those Christian values and principles to my thinking, which then translates to how I interact with others. And so the same is for you. And I think that's a key message that you can use, that anyone can take and use in any field that they're in.
Yeah, it's amazing when you know your purpose in life. It makes so much things easier. Doesn't mean everything's going to be easy, but regardless of where you're at, you just got to keep running the same play and doing what you're called to do. So I agree with that.
Now let's dig a little deeper into transitioning out of college into pastoral ministry, which was your first job out of college. Uh, I know the story, but I know the listeners, they don't. So share with us what that experience was like coming out of college, looking for your first job.
Yeah, and honestly, that experience is basically why I'm here today. Coming out of college, I graduated I was graduating at 21. I've always been top of my class. I was, I won't say I was the smartest student, but I worked extremely hard.
Mhm.
And as a result, I was able to, have a lot of success just through school and my different extracurricular activities. High school, I was on the debate team. I played sports. I was involved with many different things. And now when it came to my senior year of college, it was, the goal of every college student is to get a job. You
Mhm.
interview, you apply to jobs, and you want to make your family proud. And I found myself, a week before graduation, while all my friends had job offers and had kind of a path of the next step. I was the Lone Ranger,
Mhm.
and after 8 different interviews, and applications, I was rejected. I did not have, kind of that clear next step. And that was so impactful to me in a negative sense because I was now questioning my calling, my
Mhm.
purpose. Like I spent 3 years, painstakingly over Greek and Hebrew, and I like, man, did I make the wrong move?
Mhm.
And I found myself just praying, trusting in God, and out of nowhere, a conference and an opportunity came from Tulsa, Oklahoma. At the time, I barely knew where it was on the map. But it was God's way of saying, Pierre, you're not in control. You can't study for this test. And I just submitted, I was obedient, and the rest is history. And I left, home in Florida to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and spent my first kind of a time away from home, if you will, doing God's work in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And I remember making that trip. We made a road trip out of it.
Sure did.
uh,
I was like, I'm not going by myself, so I got to
yeah,
bring my best friend with me. And I even to this day, I'm so appreciative. We did the road trip. I mean, we stopped in random places like
yeah,
Mississippi and places
yeah.
we've never been, and it was fun. It was fun, and yeah, I mean, God puts people, in our lives to not only motivate us but encourage us and to take long road trips together with.
Exactly. But what I like about that is that you were one of the last in your class to get a job. And I understand how that feels because you're thinking, what did I do wrong? You compare yourself to others. Am I not good enough? So, what encouragement do you have for those who are listening and watching who may feel that they are not accomplishing their goals at a certain time in their lives when they feel like they should have?
Yeah, and let me even add to that, Omar. I mean, I'm super competitive. I love sports. I don't want to be last in anything. I don't want to even be last in the lunch line. So not only to be last, but to be last from a career standpoint.
Mhm.
And that's something I struggle with how to overcome. I still have to overcome those feelings. But what I would tell people, remember that you have to stay the course.
Mhm.
Your timing, is not perfect. God's timing is perfect. Stay
Mhm.
the course, keep your head up, and what you thought was your plan A, what you thought was where you're going, God's going to literally redirect you and put you in his path for his plan A for your life. And I had to learn that the hard way. And when I look back at it, it played out perfectly. And what I thought was a mistake ended up being a blessing.
And you talked about redirection and what was a mistake turned out to be a blessing, right? Because part of that story of you being a pastor helped shape you and give you the skills, dare I say, the leadership skills from early on in your career to transition into a hospital setting. So, talk to us about that transition.
Oh man, yeah. So obviously, I transitioned from being a great student to then being the last picked up, the last person to get a job. So my whole mindset was a humblest mindset. So then I had to struggle with, okay, am I really supposed to be here?
Mhm.
Am I really going to be successful? So God allowed that to happen. And while I was pastoring, I really did a lot more listening than talking. So those who know me
Mm.
know I could talk a lot. I love talking. Maybe I talk too much, but in my leadership, I realized I got to do more listening.
Right.
And as I was listening, the more I listened, the more success my team was able to achieve. So then, as I transitioned even careers, I realized even in healthcare, guess what? You got to listen.
Mm,
Whether it's in leadership on the front lines, you're not gonna, as a leader, you're not supposed to have all the answers. You're not
right.
supposed to figure everything out. But as a leader, you need to put the pieces in play so that people can be successful. And that started in Oklahoma as a pastor. And then as I transitioned into healthcare, that's exactly what I was doing. I was motivating people to be in the right place so that they could be successful for the team.
And to your point, it's about that experience, about the journey. And so the advice that we can give to people as they look at their experiences is that whatever opportunity you have, you can take it because it is a building block and a stepping stone to something else. And I want to get into the reason we're here, World Class Leadership Podcast. Talk to us about the impetus behind having this podcast.
Yeah. I feel like when you look at your purpose and the value add, it can not only be relegated to your office, to where you work.
Mhm.
We have people that we come in contact with that look up to us, that we are able to impact. And I said, what better way to do that but through media?
Right.
I'm not a professional. I don't get to interview professionals like yourself, and you get to do what you do, but we all have an ability to impact the people we come in contact with. So through
Mhm.
social media, through media, like communication. And I said, what would I tell the world? I don't want to just talk about Pierre, but I want to encourage people. We live in a society that we always compare. We always think we're not good enough, but people have real stories. And let's not just talk about the highlights. Let's talk about some of the obstacles and the things we have to overcome. And for me, people look at me, hey, Pierre, you've done so much so young. But guess what? There are many times I suffer with imposter syndrome because I go
Mm.
back to my college time and I'm like, Pierre, all right, you're not good enough. Pierre, remember, you're the last one to get a job. Remember, nobody wanted you. And that's not true. If once I overcome that on a regular basis, and I could tell myself, if I stay in that mindset that I'm not good enough, then I will never be able to impact others. I will never be able to motivate my team. So success, it looks good on the outside, but no one wants to talk about those feelings where you don't feel successful, but you
Mhm.
have to be real with those feelings. And I want to talk to regular people who make it, who are making an impact in their personal life, in their professional life. And those stories, as we highlight those stories, will motivate so many people.
Wonderful. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because, um, you know, we all have imposter syndrome. We all feel that I can't, my story isn't good enough, or why am I here? I can't influence someone else. And the reality is that we all have a circle, we all have people who we interact with, and we all have a story. And our story can, in some way, influence other people, motivate other people, inspire other people. And so let's share our stories. And I like that you mentioned the trials, because a lot of people see success and they say, oh, this person is successful, but they don't understand what it took to get there. The failures. I have a podcast called the Bourne Connect that people could listen to on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Buzzsprout, you name it. It's there. And we talk about the same thing. How can you inspire other people through your individual story so that they can achieve the goals that they want to achieve?
That was a smooth plug there. I see what you did there. That was
I
smooth.
try.
You're a professional. You did
I
it so
try.
smooth. I liked it. I liked it. But yeah, what was the question? Sorry, it was just so smooth. What was the question?
um, so basically, when we look at world class leadership podcasts, how important is it for everyone to understand the struggles that these leaders go through so that they can be motivated to reach for their goals and for the best?
Yeah, I think it's vitally important. I mean, society like to paint a picture of success as like it's always just sexy, it's perfect, right? You have it all figured out.
Mhm.
But really, success is messy. Leadership
Mm,
is messy. Life is messy. but let's not hide away from the messiness. Let's talk about the mess, right? Let's talk about the time we get laid off from the job and how it made
Yeah,
us feel. Let's
yeah.
talk about the time where our boss didn't give us a great, performance review and we
Mhm,
felt some type of way. Let's
mhm.
talk about the time where we're like, hey, I thought I was going to get the promotion or I was going to get a raise and I came home and I didn't. You know, let's talk about those things because it's when we embrace those and talk about those we're able to not only, almost therapeutically kind of heal, but
Mhm.
then tell people it's okay. We didn't die, right? We kept going. We didn't have a career failure, but we just continued to grow from those experiences. So that's why I believe world class is not that you're perfect, but you use your shortcomings or you use different setbacks to propel you forward.
And what I like about what you just said is because when we look at, I mean, you look at professionals, you have Naomi Osaka, tennis player, for example, who needed, to take some time away to deal with her mental health. You look at Simone Biles, who also had to take some time away from the Olympics to deal with her mental health. Um, these are real issues. And we only see people's successes and rarely their failures. Uh, and so it is important to talk about those shortcomings. One, as you said, for your mental health and for your well being, but also so that others can see that it isn't all roses, it isn't easy. You have to go through the struggle in order to reach the mountaintop.
Yeah. I mean, and then guess what? The mountaintop is not a static place.
Ah,
The mountaintop keeps moving. So
exactly.
the moment you believe that you've made it or you feel like you made it, guess what? There's something waiting for you that's going to test you.
Mhm.
And those barriers are going to keep coming. And it's just, I heard one time from a mentor, embrace the suck. Like you just got to embrace it. But don't do it in isolation. Don't do it alone,
Right.
but share it. And I think what better way to have people come on a podcast, come on social media, and just share their experiences
Mhm.
and not just dwell on the negative parts of that, but how they survived and how they overcame. And honestly, we all love an overcoming story, right? It just gives us that little tingle inside. And I just want to keep sharing those. So
We love the comeback kid.
okay, there you go, the comeback kid. That's what we're all looking for.
What inspires you?
Man, what inspires me? Honestly, as simple as it is, I'm inspired by seeing people win and doing it the right way. You know, just because you have a failure, you have a setback, but you keep pushing. I'm inspired by listening to people, reading autobiographies. I love personal development, the whole concept, but I want to see people win. Again, I'm competitive, and in most sports, the champion doesn't always go undefeated, right?
Mhm.
The champion always has some setbacks, and just because someone wins the championship at one given moment in time, guess what? They can't use the same strategy to win a
Another
second
one.
time.
That's
They've
right.
got to keep they've got to keep adjusting.
Uh-huh.
So I'm inspired by just a thrill and a process of winning, but helping people win. I'm inspired by people just saying, "Hey, guess what? I'm always going to be looking for an opportunity to improve myself." So I love that.
When you look at leadership and the new leaders, especially of today, somebody who might be going into a leadership position for the first time, um, what advice and words of encouragement do you have for them?
Yeah. Well, for the first time, honestly, I would say, never underestimate the power of having mentors and a support group, people you can be very real to, because it's going to get lonely because you're not going to have all the answers. And as long as you feel like you know what your purpose is, keep pushing. Don't stop at one, job rejection. Don't stop at, one negative performance review. Keep going
Mhm.
because if you're going to win, if you're going to be a champion, you cannot stop. You cannot afford to stop. And then when you get to that point where you
Mhm.
feel as if, hey, I've made it, you get to share that story, encourage somebody else. So having a mentor is important or a circle of influence that could really support you through that journey. But definitely you can't stop. keep pushing forward, stay the course.
And keep growing. Even when you reach the success, as you said, keep growing.
Yeah. And you're never going to stop growing. I'm still growing, and I mean, I'm not going to get any taller. I'm 5'7" on a good day, but I'm going to keep trying to grow in other ways.
I like that. We all can't be tall. It's all good.
What are you like? What, 6 foot, 6'1"?
6'1".
You see, actually, I take that back. I've been hanging around with you for 15 years, and I still haven't grown. I don't, I don't know. All my friends are taller than me. You see,
it's all about what's inside.
You're right. Thank you. I appreciate that spin.
World-class leadership podcast. This is the first episode. Pierre Monice, Omar Bourne here with my boy, just guest hosting for today, but hopefully he'll have me back. I'm excited about this podcast. I'm excited about the inspiration that is going to come from it. So let our listeners and our viewers know what they can expect.
Yeah, no, I'm going to bring real people, who have reached different levels of success in their personal life or in their, in their work life. And sometimes I'm just going to sit and just talk to people about kind of things I'm going through in my leadership, experiences, real experiences. But each and every episode, they're going to be inspired. Each and every episode, I'm going to challenge them on, hey, things that they can do practically to continue to grow. So I'm looking forward to that. So Omar, thank you so much. Definitely, I've got to return the favor. So you will be back, and we're going to talk more about you. But I'm looking forward to even getting better and being a professional like yourself. And but tell people if they want to get in contact with you or hear more about you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, so if you want to get in contact with me, I am on Instagram. You can reach me at the Bourne Writer, and then email address. You can also find me thebournewriter15@gmail.com.
Excellent. And we'll put the information in the show notes so people could see that. But Omar, thank you so much. The inaugural episode of the World Class Leadership Podcast. I'm looking forward to having many subscribers, but most importantly, many people that we're going to inspire and impact to make the world a better place. Thanks, Omar.
Before we go, we got one more segment. This is something.
Yeah.
This is something that I like to do on my podcast. It's called Top 3, and we're going to get to know Pierre a little better outside of the professional world. And so with Top 3, we choose a topic. Pierre is going to give me 6 choices, and I have 3 chances to choose his top 3 choices. It's pretty simple. It's pretty fun. So what's the list that you have for me today, Pierre?
Okay. I like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We could go a little off there. Okay. Because I love sports, let's do my top 3 favorite athletes. Okay. I'm going to give you.
Yeah. You're going to give me 6 choices, and I have 3 chances to choose your top 3. So let's go. What do we got?
All right. Let's start with Dennis Rodman.
Okay. Rodman.
Yep. And let's go with Wayne Gretzky.
Okay. What you know about hockey?
A little bit. Come on, I'm a sports fan. Pete Sampras.
I love Sampras. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Tiger Woods.
Uh-huh.
Kobe Bryant.
Cobes. Uh-huh.
Allen Houston.
That's a random one. Allen Houston. He had a lot of knee injuries, so I'm wondering if you might be inspired by him because of the fact that he had all those injuries. And he played for the Knicks, and I know that you grew up in Jersey for a little bit. But I'm going to start with what should be the most obvious. And if this name is not on your list, this is fraudulent altogether, and we need to stop the conversation. Cobes, the late, great Kobe Bean Bryant has to be on your list.
Of course, Cobes.
All right.
It has to be on my list. You know that.
All right, so we got Kobe. I think I'm going to go 3 for 3 here.
Next okay, world class. I love it.
Right. World class, nothing less. I'm going to go with Pete Sampras. Tennis, he's one of the greatest male athletes ever, dominated the 90s into late 90s into the early 2000s, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. Those battles with him and Sampras were always great. I would say mid to late 90s there for Sampras. I'm going to go with Sampras.
Yep, you're right. All right, two for
Right.
two. Yeah, that was one of my mom's favorite athletes, and I used to watch him while I was growing up while my mom was watching. So
It's so funny you say that because I used to watch Sampras as well when I was growing up, and I always used to love his matches, and his games against Agassi were always epic, and I will always root for Sampras.
and I always watch it with my own tennis racket. Not sure why I did that, but I always had my racket while watching him play. So, you know.
All right, so we got Cobes, we got Pete Sampras. This last one is going to be tricky. I don't know if you threw in Gretzky because you wanted to throw me off. Great player, great hockey player. But I'm going to go with Tiger Woods. I'm going to go with Tiger.
All right. Well, that was a good guess, but that was wrong.
Was it Gretzky?
No, that's not Gretzky. Allen Houston.
So Allen Houston. Okay. I guess because it was so random.
But remember, I was born in New Jersey, so I grew up being a Knicks fan.
Right.
And Allen Houston was a great shooter. And me being just a short guy, I love shooting threes.
Okay.
So I just live vicariously through him as well. So.
All right. Okay. So I went 2 for 3. Not bad. I think that's still a passing grade. And to recap, top 3: Kobe Bryant, Pete Sampras, Allen Houston. I love it.
There you go. There you go. Thanks for the question. That's a good one. I may have to take that for my future episodes. I like that.
You can always bring me back to host it. Now we boys, you can have it as well. It's all good.
All right. I love that. But yeah, Omar, thank you so much. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon. And thank everyone for listening. Have a great one. And remember, World Class Leadership Podcast will be back every week for exciting, inspiring episode, how you too can add value in your place of work and areas of influence. Have a good one.
Don't forget to click that subscribe and like button. Don't forget those buttons.
I love it. Thanks, Omar.